There's a filter in your Acura that almost nobody knows about. Not the engine air filter. Everyone knows about that one. Not the cabin air filter. Most people have at least heard of that. This is a third filter, a hidden one. And right now, there's a good chance it's completely clogged, choking your engine, reducing your fuel economy, and quietly causing damage that adds up over time. I've been working on Acuras for years, and when I ask owners about this filter, the response is almost always the same: blank stare. What filter? Exactly. This filter doesn't get talked about. It's not on the standard maintenance checklist at most dealerships, and because it's hidden, most owners never think to look for it. But here's what's happening when it gets clogged. Your engine works harder than it should. Fuel economy drops, performance suffers, and in some cases, the damage leads to repairs in the thousands. Today, I'm revealing exactly what this hidden filter is, where it is on your specific Acura, what happens when it's ignored, and how to check and replace it yourself in minutes. Let's get into it. What the hidden filter actually is. The hidden filter I'm talking about is the PCV baffle filter, also called the oil separator filter or crankcase breather filter. And this little-known component is quietly destroying Acura engines across the country. Here's why it exists. Your engine produces blow-by gases. These are combustion gases that leak past piston rings into the crankcase during normal engine operation. Left to accumulate, these gases would pressurize the crankcase, blow out oil seals, and cause serious damage. That's where the PCV system comes in. PCV stands for positive crankcase ventilation. It routes these blow-by gases back into the intake manifold to be burned in the combustion chamber instead of released into the atmosphere. But those blow-by gases carry oil mist with them, fine droplets of engine oil that get picked up and carried through the PCV system. If that oil mist reaches your intake manifold and valves, it creates carbon buildup that causes rough idle, hesitation, and eventually expensive cleaning services. So engineers designed the PCV baffle filter to catch that oil mist before it reaches the intake. The filter separates oil droplets from the gases, allowing gases to continue to the intake while capturing oil to drain back into the crankcase. Brilliant engineering, but over time, that filter gets saturated with oil residue, carbon deposits, and debris. When it clogs, everything goes wrong. What happens when this filter clogs? Here's the cascade of problems a clogged PCV baffle filter causes. Increased crankcase pressure. When the filter clogs, it restricts flow through the PCV system. Blow-by gases can't escape the crankcase efficiently. Crankcase pressure builds up and finds the path of least resistance: your engine's oil seals and gaskets. The first seals to fail are usually the valve cover gaskets, which start seeping oil. Then the rear main seal. Then front crankshaft seals. Each seal replacement costs $200 to $600 depending on the specific seal and labor involved. A $20 filter replacement that was ignored leads to $800 in seal repairs. Oil consumption increase. Increased crankcase pressure forces oil past piston rings and into the combustion chamber. You start burning oil. What used to be a quart every 5,000 miles becomes a quart every 2,000 miles, then every 1,000 miles. People spend thousands chasing oil consumption problems through piston ring inspections, never knowing the clogged PCV baffle filter was the root cause all along. Carbon buildup acceleration. When the filter clogs, it can no longer effectively separate oil mist from crankcase gases. Oil mist bypasses the clogged filter and gets into your intake system. On direct injection Acura engines where there's no fuel washing the intake valves, this oil mist coats the valves with carbon deposits at an accelerated rate. That leads to rough idle hesitation, failed emissions tests, and eventually a $400 to $800 walnut blasting service, all from a filter that costs less than $30. Poor idle quality. A clogged filter disrupts the carefully calibrated vacuum signals in your intake system. Your ECM uses intake vacuum as a key input for fuel delivery calculations. When the clogged filter throws off those readings, the ECM makes incorrect fuel delivery decisions. The result? Rough, inconsistent idle, hesitation, sometimes a check engine light for lean or rich conditions. If you're having idle problems you can't diagnose, this hidden filter is one of the first things to check. If you want to make sure you're catching every critical maintenance item like this one, I've created a complete 500,000 mile car maintenance blueprint for Acura owners. It covers every filter, every fluid, every service interval. The link is in the description. Grab your copy now. Where to find this filter? On your Acura. Here's where things get model specific, because the location varies across different Acura engines. 2013 to 2020. Acura RDX 3.5-liter V6 and 2.0-liter turbo. On the 3.5-liter V6, the PCV baffle filter is integrated into the valve cover assembly on the passenger side of the engine. Remove a small rubber hose connected to the valve cover and look for a plastic housing with a removable cover. On the 2.0-liter turbo RDX, the oil separator is a standalone unit mounted on the passenger side of the engine block near the top. It has a single inlet hose from the crankcase and an outlet hose going to the intake. 2015 to 2020 Acura TLX 2.4 liters and 3.5 liters. The 2.4-liter four-cylinder has the PCV baffle integrated into the valve cover on the front of the engine. There's a breather port with a hose going to the intake manifold. The 3.5-liter V6 TLX has a similar setup to the RDX V6, with the oil separator on the passenger side valve cover. 2014 to 2020 Acura MDX 3.5-liter V6. The MDX's 3.5-liter uses an external oil separator mounted on the firewall side of the engine. It's a cylindrical unit about the size of a soda can with two hose connections. This is one of the easier ones to access and replace. General location. Tip: if you're not sure where yours is, look for a rubber hose, usually between 10 millimeters and 20 millimeters in diameter, running between your valve cover or engine block and your intake manifold or air intake tube. The PCV baffle filter will be somewhere along that hose's path. On many models, trace this hose by starting at the oil filler cap area on the valve cover and following it toward the intake side of the engine. How to check the filter. Here's how to inspect your PCV baffle filter and determine if it needs replacement. Step 1. Inspect the hoses first. Before removing anything, look at the hoses connected to the PCV system. Check for cracks, hardened or brittle sections, oil residue on the outside, and loose connections. A cracked PCV hose causes the same symptoms as a clogged filter. Replace any damaged hoses at the same time as the filter. Step 2. Remove the filter or oil separator. For external oil separators, disconnect the inlet and outlet hoses. Remove any mounting bolts or clips, and the unit comes out. For integrated valve cover baffles, remove the clip-on access cover. Have a rag ready. There will be oil residue in the lines. Step 3. Inspect the filter element. A healthy PCV baffle filter looks like a small foam or mesh element that's slightly oily, but still has visible pore structure. A clogged filter looks like a solid black or dark brown lump with no visible pores. Oil and carbon deposits have completely filled the filter media. Step 4. The blow test. Try blowing through the filter with your mouth. Air should pass through with minimal resistance. If you can barely blow through it, it's too clogged to function. If no air passes at all, it needs immediate replacement. How to replace the filter. Here's the replacement procedure for most Acura models. What you'll need: replacement, PCV baffle filter or oil separator for your specific model, small flathead screwdriver for hose clamps, pliers for stubborn connections, clean rag, compressed air for cleaning the surrounding area. The process: Take photos of the hose routing before disconnecting anything. Disconnect the inlet hose first. These are usually held by spring clamps that you squeeze and slide back with pliers. Disconnect the outlet hose. Remove any mounting hardware. Install the new unit in reverse order. Hand tighten any bolts first, then torque taikisame to specification, usually 8 to 10 pound-feet. Reconnect hoses and make sure clamps are fully seated. Start the engine and check for air leaks around the new connections. A hissing sound indicates a loose connection. Cost: replacement. PCV baffle filters for most Acuras cost $15 to $45 for the filter element. Complete oil separator assemblies run $40 to $120 depending on the model. Compare that to the cascade of repairs a clogged filter causes. How often should you replace this filter? Here's the recommendation most Acura owners have never received because nobody tells them about this filter. Under normal driving conditions, every 60,000 miles or 5 years, whichever comes first. Under severe conditions, frequent short trips, stop-and-go traffic, extreme temperatures, every 30,000 miles. If you've never replaced yours and your car has over 60,000 miles, check it immediately. Here are the signs that tell you it's overdue even before you check. Oil leaks from valve cover gaskets on a car that wasn't leaking before. Sudden increase in oil consumption. Rough idle that appeared without obvious cause. Oily residue around the air intake tube or throttle body. Any of these symptoms combined with mileage over 60,000 miles means check this filter today. The connection to carbon buildup. Here's something that ties this hidden filter directly to the most expensive engine problem affecting modern Acuras. Direct injection carbon buildup on intake valves is the most common cause of rough idle and reduced performance on Acuras from 2013 onwards. The walnut blasting service to fix it costs $400 to $800. And one of the primary causes of accelerated carbon buildup is a failed PCV baffle filter, letting oil mist reach the intake valves. Replacing this filter regularly doesn't just prevent PCV system problems, it directly slows down carbon accumulation on your intake valves. Owners who maintain their PCV systems properly often go 40,000 to 50,000 miles longer between carbon cleaning services. At $600 per cleaning, that's real money saved. Over the life of your car, proper PCV baffle filter maintenance could save you $1,200 to $1,800 in carbon cleaning costs alone. That's before counting the seal repairs and oil consumption repairs a clogged filter would otherwise cause. Additional PCV system maintenance. While you're addressing the PCV baffle filter, check these related components that are often ignored alongside it. PCV valve. The PCV valve is a one-way check valve that regulates flow through the system. On most Acuras, it's a small plastic or metal valve that threads or clips into the valve cover. Shake it and listen for a rattle, which indicates it's working. No rattle means it's stuck and needs replacement. Cost: $10 to $25. Breather hoses. The rubber hoses throughout the PCV system crack and harden with age. On high-mileage Acuras, cracked hoses bypass the entire filtration system. Replace any hoses that show cracking or brittleness. They're usually inexpensive and easy to replace. Intake manifold inspection. While you have hoses disconnected, look into the intake manifold runners if possible. Visible oil residue means the PCV system has been failing for some time, and the intake should be cleaned. This gives you a preview of what's happening upstream before you reassemble everything. Why dealerships miss this? Here's a question worth asking. Why isn't this on the standard Acura maintenance checklist? The PCV baffle filter isn't listed as a serviceable item in most Acura owners' manuals. It was originally designed as a lifetime component, but as these cars age and accumulate miles, it's become clear that this filter does degrade and clog over time, particularly on engines that see a lot of short trip driving where the engine never fully warms up. Some Acura dealers have added PCV system inspection to their high-mileage service packages, but many haven't updated their procedures to reflect real-world experience with aging Acuras. Meanwhile, independent mechanics who work on a lot of high-mileage Acuras have figured this out through observation. They see the pattern. Clogged PCV filter leads to oil seal leaks, oil consumption, and carbon buildup. Replace the filter and the cascade of problems stops. But that knowledge hasn't made it into mainstream maintenance guidance, which is exactly why I'm telling you about it here. The bottom line. Your Acura has a hidden filter that almost nobody checks. It sits in the PCV system, silently catching oil mist to protect your intake valves and maintain correct crankcase pressure. When it clogs, it triggers a cascade of problems that look like expensive engine issues, but often trace back to a $20 part. Oil seal leaks, increased oil consumption, accelerated carbon buildup, rough idle. All from a filter nobody told you to check. Now you know it exists. Now you know where to find it. Now you know what to do about it. Check it today if your Acura has more than 60,000 miles. Replace it if it's clogged. Add it to your maintenance schedule at 60,000-mile intervals going forward. So there you have it. The hidden Acura filter that almost nobody checks, and that's quietly causing thousands in preventable damage. The PCV baffle filter and oil separator that protects your intake valves and crankcase pressure. What happens when it clogs? Seal leaks, oil consumption, carbon buildup, and rough idle. Where to find it on the RDX, TLX, and MDX. How to inspect it in 5 minutes with no special tools. How to replace it yourself for $15 to $45. The maintenance interval nobody ever told you, every 60,000 miles. And the connection to carbon buildup that could save you $600 or more per cleaning interval. Check this filter. Replace it if needed. Add it to your maintenance schedule. Your engine has been trying to tell you something. Now you know what to listen for. And if you want the complete maintenance blueprint that includes this filter alongside every other service your Acura needs for 500,000 miles of reliable driving, I've created a comprehensive guide specifically for Acura owners. Click the link in the description and get your copy now, because knowing about hidden filters like this is exactly the kind of information that separates the owners whose cars last forever from the ones facing expensive surprises. If you found these tips helpful, be sure to watch this next video as we're sharing insider tips to help you cut repair costs and keep your car running like new.